Well, howdy there, y'all. YAMAHSAKI here. Welcome back to the channel. And today, we're going to be looking at an ancient radio from the past. This is a 1936 Zenith 6B129. So, story goes is my mom's grandpa, my great-great-grandpa, he was a radio repairman, did it as a side job back in the day. And when they had to move off the family ranch, there was a couple of these radios just going to get tossed out, so my dad grabbed them. And we have 4 other ones. This one supposedly was his personal one. This is a shortwave radio. So what that means is you are able to talk to other people. As you can see, that says foreign too, so you can hear broadcasts from across the world pretty much. And this thing, I don't know how long it has been since it's been powered up, but me and my dad built a little device, which I'll get into in a minute, but for you radio nuts out there, you guys probably know exactly what that is. The story behind this radio is the fact that anybody who has one of these radios can obviously see that this thing has been heavily modified. For one reason, this radio here is a farm radio. Now back in the day, a lot of farms didn't have any electricity at the time. So what you would do is you would get done plowing the field on the old 8N or something. And back in those days, they ran on 6 volt, and so did these old radios. And this one was originally a farm radio because it's got a negative and a positive here for connecting a battery, 6 volt. The weird thing about this radio is my grandpa modified it really heavily to run on both AC 110 volt current and a 6 volt current DC. All because of this thing. This is a GTC Permapower Model B. This is just a little box that converts AC into DC. Kind of like what you would find on, let's say a computer. It's basically an ancient power supply, pretty much. It's also got this weird tube here. I have no idea what that does. Now, for any of you watching this, I'm just going to say right now, I know nothing about these radios. I wanted to get into them back in the day, but I was just a teenager just, 5-6 years ago, so I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing on this thing, but I have a little bit more of an idea. So I'll go over everything that's original and not original in this radio so far. So you got your chassis, your cabinet, for you guys that don't know out there. This is supposedly the power supply in here. Now I took this plate off, and it's got a big old electrolytic tin can capacitor right here. It's got a transformer right here. That's what's in that. Got a whole bunch of resistors and wires and capacitors under this thing, which, mind you, this thing is not, I don't know if you can see that, not bolted in. I thought it was, but apparently it's not. It's also got these switches, aside from this tube, the Permapower Model B right there, and these switches here. You switch between 110 volts or 6 volts. Now this one is a 3-position switch, I think. At least I think. Maybe it's not, but... And then there's also this weird thing here on this IF transformer. I think this is an IF transformer, but I could be wrong. But it's got this weird plate here with these 2 little things that press down, kind of like a button. I have no idea what they do. So yeah, this is where your antennas would connect. I don't know if that is the antenna right there. I'll zoom in. It's just a wire crossing between those 2 leads. Then you got your power cord right here, which was, like I said, not stock. which goes in here, connects here. There's two wires coming down, this one and this one, that go into the chassis from the Model B Permapower box. It's missing the dial light up there. I do have all the hardware in here. As I said, it's a 1936 SB or 6B129. Got little screws that go on to keep this thing in place. This little metal trim right here. The cloth is in good shape. The cabinet is in fairly good shape, but it's got its usual 84-year-old wear on the cabinet. A little bit of shining up, and it should be okay. But today, me and my dad built this little contraption here. Like I said, for you radio nuts out there know exactly what this is, but some of you may not. This is a little dim bulb tester. And what it is basically a power cord going to a switch, through a light bulb, and to the outlet here. What this does is, with these old radios, if you plug them in, you know, after 50, 60, 70, 80 years not being used, you might blow something up in this thing, or even worse, cause a fire. So what this little light bulb here does is act as a giant fuse. If everything is okay, it shouldn't light up. But in certain cases it'll be just a tiny faint little glow, which is okay, you know. But then if it's glowing as bright as the sun, then you gotta flip this switch and shut it off, because something is gonna frickin' explode or set on fire. Now, I don't know what wattage this radio is at, but we just have a 60 watt bulb in here. Some people go higher and higher to see what the radio will do. We did already power it on, and I will power it on for you guys. But one thing to note is that the tuner mechanism right here, it's kind of got fins that intermesh with each other and move around to find the different stations and bands and whatnot, is not moving along with the dial and the needle. So it makes me think that there's a string mechanism in here, which it's basically kind of, think of it like a timing chain or a timing belt. It's just a couple of pulleys and a string that goes around and it connects everything. But as you can see, it'll go right to that A there, go right about there, and then nothing happens. As long as I keep turning it, nothing's happening. So that is stuck. You got your voice, music, high fidelity, and normal settings here, which I don't know what that does. Sensitivity control is distant or local. Your band indicators, A, B, and C. And then you have your on-off. So I'm going to go ahead and power this thing on for you guys. Now, one thing to note, if you are powering on these old radios for the first time, pay attention to this. If it has two leads that look the exact same thing, that's just how they were made back then. But here's where the problem comes in. So if you were to plug this thing in one way, it would still act fine like a normal radio. If you plug it in the other way, flip it around, it'll still do all the same functions as a normal radio would if you plugged it in normally, except one tiny little thing. You touch anything in here, you have a high risk chance of getting shocked. Because that's why they call these radios, a lot of these old radios, hot chassis radios. Because if you do the wrong plug on the outlet, this whole thing becomes a giant taser. It's not fun. These old radios are really finicky. Got a lot of capacitors and crap under there that you need to replace over time. I don't know if my great-grandpa ever replaced any capacitors or what he did to this thing. I do have the schematic, but like I said, I am no radio expert. I'm like bottom of the barrel beginner just trying to figure this crap out for the first time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this thing in, and I'll show you what this thing is doing. So plug it in here. Now, one thing you radio nuts might know is you're going to want to pay attention to is this light bulb right here. So right now we have it on, switch is on. And if we turn the radio on, I'm getting stuff on the speaker, some slight hums and whatnot. Sounds like the vibrator in the power supply, which might be a thing. But I'm not getting much other than static, which is not good. Not really getting anything. Just some static. But as you can see, that light bulb is not glowing. It is not doing nothing. So I don't know if it has to do with the modifications my grandpa did to this thing, but you can kind of hear that, how it's kind of picking up some static when I move the little knob here. But yeah, I have no idea what that noise is. It probably is. If any of you radio nuts out there know any information on this radio and the modifications done to it, please let me know. But that's all we're getting is some faint static when I move the volume and a really big hum. So I don't know what any of that means. But I am going to have to go in and unfreeze that. So that is on high fidelity, getting more static. But I'm going to have to go in and unfreeze that tuner in there. But that's all we're getting is static and some humming from the speaker when this thing is turned on. But I'll show you guys, maybe you can see some of those. You can faintly see a tube lighting up in there. Maybe some of these other ones. But this thing's on. It's not doing anything, but it's on. And that light bulb's not doing nothing. So I don't know what to think right now. So like I said, if you guys have any information on this radio, please comment down below. But if you are going to test out these old radios and get into the hobby, either get a Variac or build yourself one of these. These things are dirt cheap to build. You need a switch, a bulb, and this switch isn't even really needed. It's just an extra precaution to shut it off. And an outlet. And a 60-watt bulb, at least 60 watt. Well, this thing is getting hot. I mean, it is. It's a little bit hot. A little warm, but I don't know. I'll just have to figure it out as time goes on, but yeah, I think it's just really cool that after who knows how long this thing powered on. It's just crazy. Just crazy. You know, the engineering that people put back into radios, TVs, cars, motorcycles is just unparalleled compared to today's stuff. I mean, radios are tiny, 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 tiny little things. Even our phones, they're just tiny compared to these big old hunkin' machines. But these hunkin' machines are just humble little beasts wanting to live again. They're still useful, you know, which I think is pretty darn cool. But yeah, well, that's all I have to really show you guys today. I'll hopefully be able to keep updating you guys on what goes on with this thing, because I think it's a really cool old radio, really old cool piece of machinery. So, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for more content, and YAMAHSAKI out. See y'all later. Stay tuned for upcoming videos on this really cool old thing.